move on then to the next choice, which is for primary and for secondary, which is looking at curriculum design. This is an area which obviously lots of people are talking about across the county at the moment, and we know that the 2019 Ofsted framework is going to look at this as well. So not that it's all about that, obviously, but the way we're going to be running this, and I must stress, and I'm going to keep repeating this, just to make sure everybody's clear, you are not going to have a new curriculum at the end of this. So please don't come in thinking we're going to just hand over something. It's about you know your schools, you know your children, you know the very different and diverse localities around Lincolnshire, you know what's relevant and in the context for your children, what's going to make sense for them. So what we're going to do is present the evidence around different designs, different models of curriculum, and then what we're advocating for this is slightly different from the go back to your school and run a shadow PLC. It's going to be go back to your school and work with a kind of curriculum development team. So thinking about that sort of Cotter way of working, that you're going to address this as a team within your school, taking the evidence that we present. So you will still have a PLC with your cluster and have a chance to have that professional dialogue across a range of schools from primary and secondary. And the feedback we've had so far is how wonderful it is to have primary and secondary talking about curriculum together. So if you're in a cluster, then thinking about actually the transitions and how does it run through. We've kind of, some schools have got into that situation of just thinking in isolation, this year we're doing this, and year 2 we're doing this, and year 3s will be doing this. And actually, there's no kind of coherence across that whole primary, across the whole secondary experience for our children. And one particular way of looking at it is going to be thinking about that core knowledge type curriculum. So not at the expense of skills, but the evidence suggests that if there is that hard and strong security in knowledge, then actually then you can apply it to higher order skills and thinking, but you need to be secure in that knowledge in the first place. So we all know that the evidence suggests that subject-based models are more successful than project-based models. So there's evidence out there. So we're going to be running sort of with that in mind. Everything we're doing will be focused around memory. So thinking about at the moment, and those of you that attended the taster session last year when James talked about cognitive theory and memory, our curriculum is not designed for memory. So what we're going to do is look at how we can build that in. So again, all the learning from the cognitive theory and memory. So if you're thinking actually we've sort of feel that we've done everything we want to do with that in the first year, that knowledge you'll be able to transfer very well across to curriculum design. So thinking about things like the interleaving, how we mix up the different subject areas, how often we go back to things, when to introduce them. We'll be looking at the spiral curriculum. So again, particularly a lot of secondary schools run science on that kind of model already. So looking at, as it suggests, going around revisiting things, but each time you revisit, you're building on existing knowledge and you're getting deeper and deeper into the understanding and opportunities for the pupils and students. So we're really going to be looking at different models. We're going to be looking at the mastery approach. So we're all familiar, it's become sort of part of the language now, hasn't it, where we're thinking about not moving on to a new topic until children have about 80% recall. And this is quite contentious, isn't it, because it's that, well, what do we do about this group of children who seemingly, and this is where the cognitive theory and memory strategies that we've trialled a lot of this year will come into. That has implications because in schools it could suggest a whole change in thinking, the whole way we run our classrooms. So this is why we're saying, actually, this is not something that you're going to be able to go and trial something in a classroom as a school-based lead or dabble with this or that or the other. It's going to be more about taking it back and as a school sitting down and working through what implications does this research have for our school, for our children. We're going to be thinking about the core curriculum in terms, the core knowledge type curriculum in terms of being a bit more specific. So instead of every year doing map skills, it's actually building on. So where is that sequence? Where is it going? How is it building on? So we all know about the theory, everything should be building on prior knowledge and experience, but actually, how coherent is it in our schools at the moment? Or is everybody just doing their own thing around map skills? I can tick that off. So is it, in this year group, they're going to be learning east, west, north and south? I don't know why I said it in that order. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? North, south, east, west, that sounds better. Or is it, then in this year they're going to be building on that and learning, the words around equator and Pacific and Atlantic, etc., and all the oceans. So being specific in what knowledge is being taught so that it can be used and built in for lifelong learning, not just something they do in year 2 and then move on and forget about it. So really thinking about how memory fits in and how that can build our curriculums. Key Stage 3, their skills-linked curriculum, particularly looking at the archipelago type curriculum, so thinking about the skills that come in and how those built in as well. And it could be, as you're all probably sitting there thinking, well, Vanessa, we're not actually going to end up with a mastery type curriculum, we're not going to have a spiral curriculum or this curriculum. It's going to be probably a combination of everything, isn't it? But it's about thinking about, the context of your school far better than the Mobilise team. So it's about you making those decisions and having those discussions back in school. Okay, so a lot will also include the role of feedback again, so the overlap with that and assessment and the retrieval techniques to support revision. So not just revision for the sake of an exam, but revision as in being able to retain that information and seal it in our long-term and your children's long-term memories. Okay, so just to reiterate, no new curriculum for 2019. Unless you've managed to do that in a year, then that would be great. It would be a great case study if you managed to do that within a year.